Hi, it's Hava, and my guest today is Israeli author Ed Truitt. And Ed has written a novel titled Golan. And Ed, thank you for being here and talking to us. Can you give us a little background about yourself?
Be happy to. Thanks, Leah. It's good to be here at Aharon's bookstore because I'm a former Denverite. I made aliyah to Israel 7 years ago from Denver, Colorado, and I'm currently working at the Weizmann Institute of Science in Provo as a science writer. And an interesting piece of science that always fascinated me is what might happen after the bomb. And so I wrote a novel, and I'd like to share it with you.
Ed, tell us, what Golan is about.
It's basically an action-adventure story. It takes place in the Golan Heights. The scenario is, what if 1973 happened all over again to Israel? Another surprise attack. But this surprise attack begins with a nuclear strike where the bombs burst up above the atmosphere and does not create radiation, but creates an electromagnetic pulse. It's called EMP. And that disables the entire power grid in Israel. Every cell phone, every computer chip, basically sends us back to the beginning of the 1900s as far as technology. And Israel has to fight back, spend the next 450 pages getting Israel out of the dilemma with a very interesting cast of characters, which includes a wood-burning pickup truck and some older Moshavniks who find themselves in interesting places. And it's a real page-turner. I've written as a thriller, but a thoughtful thriller.
So why did you decide to write a book about, such a, not necessarily futuristic, but a scary, chaotic topic, which, might or might not be able to happen? I think it might be able to happen myself.
It's a scenario I certainly hope does not happen. But if you look around the Middle East today, especially if you've, seen the movie Iranium, which is a movie about the Iranian nuclear program put out by the same people that
okay, so the movie Iranium touches on this topic a little bit, or does it a lot?
It does a lot. It kind of leaves off that we know Iran is developing a bomb. We know, despite Stuxnet and all our efforts to slow them down, that they want to be a nuclear power. And actually, the most effective way they could be a nuclear power is to strike the electronic infrastructure of their enemies. Israel is very technology dependent. And imagine Israelis without their cell phone. You can imagine the chaos that this book begins with.
So this is definitely a what-if book. What would happen if this happened?
Right, and as for action and adventure and for just the human drama of it, it's a fascinating scenario. And also it's a bit of a warning to Israel and also the world that Iran said as far back as 1995 this was a scenario they were thinking about. One missile shot up 300 kilometers above the United States could cripple the entire eastern seaboard. Well, Israel's tiny. We're not that well protected, at least on the civilian side. Military, I think we're better prepared than my book says, but I'm not into the secrets.
Well, now, I know you've caught my interest on this book, and I'm certainly going to sit down and read it. Who would be interested in reading this type of book?
I think anyone who cares about Israel, who loves Israel, who's concerned about the fate of the world, wonders, what could happen? Wants to be, it's for thinking people that want to think ahead a little bit and not just be reacting to whatever happens next. And it's also a very good read. A friend of mine stayed up all night reading it. He called me the next morning and said, "Wow, great book." So I hope you feel that way too. Well,
I'm glad to hear that. Ed, thank you so much for being here with us today. And Golan is available at Aharon's Jewish Books in Judaica in the Mile High City of Denver, or please check our drop-down menu below for ordering information.